Hi, my name is Donovan Delore. I'm a realtor and rental specialist from Long and Foster, Columbia, and today I want to talk to you about a topic that relates to purchasing a home, or more specifically, the financing terms you may hear when you begin your home search. So whenever you go out to buy a home, you're going to want to first identify how you're going to be paying for your home. For most people, financing is the most obvious answer. So in the real estate industry, some tools we use to measure an individual's ability to receive financing are the pre-qualification and the pre-approval. These two items may sound pretty similar, but don't be fooled because there's a bit of a difference. So let's talk about what each of these are individually. The pre-qualification is a bit easier to understand and it's a bit easier to acquire pre-qualification. A pre-qualification is essentially an estimate from a lender that states they're willing to give you X amount of financing based on some answers to questions they're going to be asking you. Some of the questions a lender may ask you when issuing you a pre-qualification will include questions such as what is your current income, what is your current credit score, how much do you have in savings, etc. And after you answer these questions for the lender, they will, as I said, give you an estimate of how much financing they think they could offer to you. Now, pre-qualifications aren't very formal, and it's not really a good idea to use a pre-qualification as a tool to measure how much home you can afford. The next item of pre-approval is a little bit better estimate of how much home you can afford. To acquire pre-approval, you're going to need to supply a few documents to verify questions that the lender will be asking you. Some of the questions the lender may ask you when issuing a pre-approval are going to be similar to the pre-qualification, but as I said, you'll need documentation to prove it. So some of the items a lender may ask for when issuing a pre-approval are going to be items such as your 1040 statements, W-2 statements, your most recent pay stubs, bank statements, etc. And the lender is going to use information that they compile from these documents, and they'll give you a stated amount of financing that they're willing to offer to you, and they're going to state this amount of financing in what's called a pre-approval letter. Now, the pre-approval letter is the tool that is good for using when you want to go out there and begin your home search. The pre-approval letter will ultimately give you a really accurate measure of how much home you can afford. Another thing to remember is that with a pre-approval, there's no obligation to have to take that loan or to have to buy a house. I know there's a few people out there who are a little bit hesitant to get that pre-approval in the beginning because they're afraid they're going to be obligated to have to use that loan and that they're going to have to buy a house, but really that's not the case. Once you get a pre-approval is essentially an offer from a lender stating the amount of financing they're willing to offer to you. They're not saying you have to use this financing. They're saying we're willing to offer this much financing to you if you happen to make a home purchase. So it's also important to verify with your lender how long your pre-approval is good for. I know here our in-house loan officers at our office offer a pre-approval that's good for 90 days. And sometimes you can kind of structure your home search a little bit around your pre-approval, the window that your pre-approval is good for. But sometimes it might be a little bit more beneficial to go ahead and get your pre-approval as early as possible. Sometimes interest rates can rise a little bit in the period that you acquire the pre-approval, so if you get a little bit earlier, you might be able to lock in at a little bit lower of an interest rate. But of course, if you're interested in acquiring a pre-approval, always talk to a loan officer or some sort of financial advisor before you get that pre-approval. They'll be able to give you the most information. I have had individuals come into the office before with a pre-qualification for X amount, and they may only end up getting pre-approved for a fraction of that amount. That's because when you acquire a pre-approval, the lender will dig a little bit deeper into your financial history to uncover events in your financial history, and they're not really going to do that for the pre-qualification. So there can be quite a difference between the two. That's why you can't really rely on a pre-approval or you can't really rely on a pre-qualification as an estimate of how much financing you could receive. If you're beginning your home search, you really want to get that pre-approval. So just to summarize, a pre-qualification is an estimate, while a pre-approval is an actual statement from a lender that states they're willing to offer you X amount of financing. I hope this video was helpful, and feel free to get in touch with me if you have any questions or comments. I'd love to hear them and I'd love to help. Thank you so much.